The movie begins with Joe riding a bull. He stays on it just long enough for the 8 seconds to pass and wins the competition. He waves proudly to his wife, Rose, who's sitting in the crowd. She's clearly proud of him and waves back. Suddenly, we hear the sound of an alarm clock. Turns out it was just a dream. Joe was reliving an old memory from the time he won the championship for the 3rd time. Now we see Joe as an old man. He leaves his house, gets into his truck, and drives through town until he reaches the rodeo arena. There's a kids' rodeo going on, where young boys are riding small bulls. Joe heads over to his grandson Cody and helps him get ready in the holding pen. The gate swings open and the young bull charges out with Cody on its back. Cody manages to hold on for the full 8 seconds and completes the ride successfully. Everyone is cheering for him and they're all really proud. Afterward, Joe takes Cody to a small cafeteria, and while they're sitting there, a TV interview comes on with Billy, the #1 bull riding champion. The interview is part of the hype for the upcoming championship, taking place in just 2 days. Billy has been winning the competition year after year, and everyone expects him to win again this time. Cody turns to his grandpa and says that if he entered the competition, he could beat Billy. But Joe tells him those days are long gone. He used to win back when he took home 3 championships in a row. But now he's retired, and those days are behind him. The next day, we see Joe watching Cody play baseball. Cody's mom, Sally, comes over and sits with him. From the way they talk, we can tell there's some tension between them. Sally asks Joe not to encourage her son to go into bull riding, saying it has no real future. While the baseball game continues, Cody gets hit in the head by the ball and falls to the ground. Everyone rushes to check on him, worried, but after a moment, he gets up and keeps playing. Later, they all return to Joe's farmhouse. While Joe and his daughter Sally are standing outside, they suddenly hear Cody calling for them from inside the house. They rush in to find him dizzy and lying on the floor. He tells them he fell again. Sally says it's probably just because of the baseball that hit his head, and that he'll be fine with a little rest. She takes Cody with her, and they leave. But later that same day, Joe gets a call from Sally. She's in tears, telling him that she's at the hospital. Cody suddenly collapsed. Joe hurries to the hospital right away. There, the doctors explain that Cody needs a brain scan and that they'll have to transfer him to another hospital where there's a specialized neurologist. That night, they drive to the bigger hospital in the next city. In the doctor's office, the specialist looks over Cody's brain scan and gives them devastating news. Cody has a brain tumor. Everyone is shocked, struggling to process the news. The doctor tells them that Cody will need surgery as soon as possible. We then see Sally going to the restroom, locking herself inside. She's scared and overwhelmed. Back in the hospital lounge, a woman from the insurance company comes to speak with them. She explains, unfortunately, that their insurance won't cover the cost of the surgery.
Joe immediately assures her that they'll handle the costs themselves and asks her to proceed with scheduling the operation. After the woman leaves, Sally asks Joe how they're going to come up with that kind of money. Joe tells her they can sell the house, but Sally reminds him that the house is already under 2 mortgages. Joe calmly says he'll figure something out. He tells her she needs to trust him, he'll find a way. He leaves to pick up some clothes for her and heads back to the farmhouse. Once there, he calls up an old friend named Charlie. Charlie is surprised to hear from him since they haven't talked in years. Joe asks him to come to the farm right away, saying he'll explain everything when he gets there. Then, Joe makes another call to a man named Jimmy. He leaves a voicemail saying he's ready to accept Jimmy's offer to compete in the bull riding championship.
After that, Joe steps out of the house and starts training to get back in shape, even though it's clear he's much older now and regaining his physical strength won't be easy. Just then, Charlie arrives and asks Joe what's going on. Joe takes him for a walk around the farm and explains that his grandson needs emergency brain surgery. And because they're old friends, he wants Charlie to travel with him and help him during the bull riding competition against 20 other riders for the grand prize of $1 million to pay for the operation. Charlie bursts out laughing. To him, the idea is ridiculous. A man Joe's age entering a bull riding competition again? especially with all the injuries he's already had? He thinks it's a crazy idea, but Joe, completely serious, tells him that this is something he has to do for his grandson. He has no other option. He says he's going to the competition whether Charlie comes with him or not. Then he looks Charlie in the eye and asks if he's in or if he's going to abandon him. He's leaving right now, with or without him. Charlie hesitates, but finally agrees to go only because of their old friendship, even though he still doesn't believe Joe can actually compete. Joe starts packing and the two of them hit the road. On the way, they stop at the hospital, where Sally is waiting. Joe hands her a bag of clothes. Sally asks him how he's planning to come up with the money. He tells her he's found a way it's taken care of. That's when Charlie walks in. Sally greets him, surprised she hasn't seen him in years. Joe tells her he's decided to enter the bull riding championship. Sally is stunned. At first, she thinks he's joking, but when she sees they're serious, her expression shifts to shock. She reminds her father that after her mother's death and the injury he suffered to his back, he was in constant pain, even wishing for death at times. And if he's somehow forgotten all of that, she hasn't. She never will. Joe tells her firmly that he's doing this for Cody. It's the only way to pay for the surgery. Then he and Charlie go to Cody's hospital room to say goodbye. Joe tells his grandson that he'll be away for 2 days, and when he comes back, he'll explain everything. He makes Cody promise to stay strong, because after the surgery, he's taken him to a rodeo. And next year, Cody's gonna ride a bull himself. They say their goodbyes and hit the road again, heading to the state where the competition is being held. When they arrive, we see Jimmy in his office. He's surprised and happy to see Joe and Charlie. It's been years since they last met. Seeing Joe brings back a flood of memories for Jimmy, how Joe used to be a true champion back in the day. Joe tells Jimmy that he doesn't want to just be a former champion, he wants to be a champion now. He explains that he left Jimmy a voicemail. Jimmy apologizes he didn't listen to it. He asks what it said. Joe tells him straight. He's accepted the offer and wants to compete in the championship. Jimmy is taken aback. That offer? It was from 10 years ago, and Joe never replied back then. Joe says he's ready now. He wants in. He reminds Jimmy how many times he helped him out in the past, and all he's asking now is for Jimmy to return the favor and let him compete. Jimmy tells him it's not that simple. That's when Joe, frustrated, gets up and walks out. Charlie steps in, trying to reason with Jimmy. He urges him to let Joe compete. Joe's a former champion, and that alone would be great for publicity. Besides, it's not impossible for Joe to ride for just 1 round. To stay on a bull for 8 seconds? Charlie pleads with him. Just let Joe enter. He promises Jimmy won't regret it. Later, we see Charlie and Joe at the rodeo arena. That's when Billy, the reigning champion from the past few years, arrives. He recognizes Joe instantly. He tells him that he used to watch him on TV as a kid, and honestly thought he was dead. Billy assumes Joe's here just to watch him ride tomorrow and cheer him on. Then he walks off, leaving Joe and Charlie behind. A little while later, Jimmy shows up and tells them that he's decided to let Joe compete in the rodeo. But he asks just one thing, that Joe stays out of trouble and doesn't drink like he used to. Joe and Charlie are thrilled. Joe's officially in. That night, before bed, Joe lies down and remembers dancing with his wife Rose, just the two of them, happy together. The next day, Joe heads with Charlie to the rodeo arena. In the locker room, it's obvious that younger competitors aren't thrilled about having an old guy like Joe there. The event kicks off with heavy media coverage. One by one, the riders take their turns, but many fail to last the full 8 seconds on the bulls. Then comes Billy's turn. Unsurprisingly, he nails his ride and qualifies for the next round, with the crowd cheering loudly. Now it's Joe's turn. He gets ready to enter the arena when his phone rings. It's a call from his daughter, Sally. She tells him that Cody's surgery has become more complicated and that the doctors want to consult other specialists the next day to get a clearer opinion. The news hits Joe hard. He's shaken. Charlie talks to him, trying to bring him back to focus. You have to let go of everything right now, he says. Just concentrate on the competition. Joe nods and steps into the holding pen. He mounts the bull, and the entire arena holds its breath. Everyone's wondering, will he make it out okay?
The bull is furious, kicking and thrashing beneath them. Then the gate swings open. The animal bursts out, trying to throw Joe off, but Joe holds on. He manages to stay on for the full 8 seconds and qualifies for the second round. The whole crowd is stunned. As Joe walks out of the arena, Billy approaches him and says, "Nice job, but for your own dignity, you should probably sit out the rest of the competition." Joe ignores him. Later, Jimmy comes over to congratulate Joe, thinking he just wanted to ride one round for the memory, but Joe surprises him. He says he's going all the way. He's not done until he wins this thing. They leave, and the next day, the arena is packed, everyone waiting to see what Joe does next. The gate opens, the bull charges, but slams Joe into the metal side of the chute. Joe falls off and doesn't complete the ride. Joe protests, saying he deserves a re-ride because the bull hit him against the gate. At first, the judge refuses, but after reviewing the video replay, he agrees. Joe will get another chance. Joe is clearly in pain, clutching his side. He talks to the medical team but insists he doesn't want anyone announcing his injury. He will finish this. Charlie helps him hide the injury and get ready for the re-ride. He urges Joe to stay calm and focused. Joe mounts the bull again. The gate opens. The bull bursts out wild and bucking, but once again, Joe hangs on. He lasts the full 8 seconds and not only qualifies but earns a high score. The crowd gives him a standing ovation, cheering him on with genuine respect. He's just made a huge statement. That night, Joe and Charlie head to a bar to unwind. While they're there, Joe gets a phone call from Cody just before the surgery. Cody is excited and proud of his grandpa. He says he's been watching him on TV. Then Solly takes the phone. She tells Joe that the doctor said there's a high risk the surgery could leave Cody paralyzed or disabled. She ends the call, leaving Joe deeply worried. Joe heads back to his seat, only to find another competitor sitting in his chair. Joe politely asks him to move, but the guy gets cocky and shoves Joe. When the guy tries to swing at him, Joe blocks the punch and fights back, landing several solid hits. The police show up at the bar. Later, Jimmy confronts Joe angrily. He reminds him that he told him not to cause trouble or drink, and now the police might press charges. If that happens, Joe could be disqualified. But Joe, stubborn as ever, says he doesn't care he's finishing the competition no matter what. Then he walks away. Charlie catches up with Jimmy and explains what's really going on. He tells him about Cody's condition and why Joe is so desperate to win. Jimmy finally understands and decides to help. He offers Joe a favor. He'll fly him on his private jet to visit Cody in the hospital and bring him back in time for the final round. On the plane, Joe sees that the news about his grandson's illness has leaked to the media. He turns to Charlie and blames him for telling Jimmy, insisting that he doesn't want anyone's pity. Charlie calmly tells him that it wasn't about him, it was about Cody. He explains that going public might actually help them raise donations for the surgery. They arrive at the hospital by private plane. Joe finds his daughter Sally asleep on a bench in the hospital garden. He gently sits beside her, touches her with affection, and wakes her up. They talk. Sally finally opens up about why their relationship has been so strained. She tells him that she was angry because after her mother died, Joe drank heavily and dragged her from town to town, never settling, never giving her the care she needed. Joe listens and tells her she's right. He admits he wasn't a good father and that he can't blame her for being upset. He sincerely apologizes, then hugs her, promising to make it up to both her and Cody. He tells her he's confident he's going to win the competition and use the prize money to pay for Cody's surgery. That night, they board the plane back. On the flight, they get a call from Jimmy. He tells them he convinced the other rider, the one Joe punched at the bar, not to press charges. Joe's free to continue in the competition. Back at the arena, Billy walks up to Joe and apologizes for underestimating him. He wishes Cody a successful surgery. They shake hands respectfully. Then it's time to assign bulls for the final round. It's done by drawing names out of a hat. One bull remains, a notoriously wild one named Firestorm. Joe steps up, grabs the mic, and voluntarily chooses Firestorm for himself, letting Billy have the other bull. The finals begin. One by one, bulls throw off riders. Billy is the only one who stays on for the full ride. He posts a strong score. Now it all comes down to Joe. The crowd is on the edge of their seats. This is the moment, the ride that could save his grandson's life. Joe gets into the chute, climbs on Firestorm, and everyone wonders, can he do the impossible at his age and win the $1 million prize? The gate flies open. Firestorm bursts out, bucking with incredible force. But Joe hangs on. He grits his teeth and holds on for the full 8 seconds. He makes it. Right after the whistle blows, though, he's thrown off hard and badly injured. The crowd watches in fear.
In pain, Joe turns to Charlie and weakly asks, "Did I make the 8 seconds?" Charlie assures him he did. Lying there, unable to move, Joe says he can see his wife Rose sitting in the crowd. He smiles as he tells Charlie that without her, he never could have done it. He stares into the crowd, imagining her watching him with pride. Meanwhile, we see Sally nervously waiting outside the operating room as Cody undergoes surgery. The doctors come out to deliver the news. The operation was successful. 6 months later, Joe and Charlie arrive at a Little League baseball field. Cody is healthy and playing baseball. Sally cheers him on proudly from the stands. After the game, they all go to a nearby diner full of joy. In a TV interview, Billy reveals that he won the competition but donated part of his prize money to Cody's medical fundraiser. He tells the interviewer that Joe's decision to compete was incredibly brave. Even if Joe didn't win first place, he won everyone's respect, and that's why Billy chose to support him. The film ends with Joe dancing with Sally. She finally calls him Dad the first time in years and thanks him for saving her son. She hugs him tightly. Joe smiles, full of pride and peace. Fade out. The film ends.